Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is We're on the Same Page, and in this video we're going to talk about my picks for my TBR pile for the BookTubeAthon for this year. I've participated in the BookTubeAthon every year since it began, but I haven't made a video. This is the first time I've ever made a video for the BookTubeAthon. So for those of you who don't know what the BookTubeAthon is, it's run by Ariel Bissett, who has the channel Ariel Bissett, I think. It's just a week of reading where you have challenges that you can do, and there are reading sprints on Twitter, and there are some goals and some prizes that you can win if you make videos like this one, or if you make videos for certain challenges throughout the week. Ariel says this in her video, but none of the challenges are mandatory for the BookTubeAthon. All you have to do for the BookTubeAthon is have fun and read. It's just about getting a bunch of people together to have fun and read together and be excited about the opportunity to read and be in the bookish community wherever you are. And so you don't have to do any of the challenges. You can do one of the challenges, you can do two of the challenges, you can do all of the challenges. And so there's no pressure. It's not a really big deal. There's nobody who's going to crack down on you if you don't complete all your goals, and it's just for fun. So I choose to do the challenges, but you don't have to. I just think that it's fun. It's also a way to guide whatever you're reading whenever the BookTubeAthon starts, so that you know what to pick up next and you're not figuring out what you want to read. But you can also move around your TBR whenever you decide. If you pick up a book and you decide, hey, I don't really feel like I'm going to read this at the moment, or I don't feel like I want to read this, so you can just pick up a different book that's not on your TBR. It is important to note that if you want any more information about the BookTubeAthon, anything happening about the BookTubeAthon, you should either go to Penguin platform, or you should just go to the BookTubeAthon channel or Ariel's channel. You could go to either of those. But the BookTubeAthon channel is just the BookTubeAthon on YouTube. It's also the BookTubeAthon on Twitter. And I think the hashtag that we're using is BookTubeAthon or BookTubeAthon 2017. And so all the information that you'll need is over there. But I'll try to keep you up to date on my reading progress throughout the week. I don't know if I'm doing reading wrap-ups or if I'm just going to do blog posts about how I'm doing, or if I'm doing check-ins, or if I'm at social media posts, or what I'm doing, but we'll figure it out as we go. I've never done this before, so it's a learning curve for me too. So first, I'm going to go through all of the challenges, and then I'm going to go through which books I chose for it. Okay, the first challenge is to finish a book in a day. The second challenge is to finish a book completely outside. So this is, you stay outside, you start the book outside, and you only read it outside. The next challenge is to finish a book with, or read a book with a person on the cover. So Ariel said that this can be a whole person. You can read a book with somebody's hair on a cover, somebody's hand on the cover, somebody's like random body part on the cover. Then there's a book you bought specifically because of the cover, because we all know that as much as we're like, I don't buy books because of how pretty their covers are, that you definitely buy books because of how pretty the covers are. So this is the challenge where you get the opportunity to read those books that you bought because their covers were gorgeous. I'm really excited about this one because I know that there are a lot of bookstagrammers that are going to have super pretty bookstagrams from all of the books with the super pretty covers, so I'm excited about this one. Then there is the challenge to read a book with a character that is very different from you. It can either be different from you in skin color, it can be different from you in gender, it can be different from you in sexual orientation, it can be different from you in where you live. So if I wanted to read a book about somebody who lived in Australia, since I live in the United States, or somebody who was struggling in a political climate in the Middle Ages, that would be drastically different from me. Or somebody who was lower class or upper class, above me or below me, then that would be an interesting read. Just wherever. It's a very broad topic, and I'm excited to see what people pick, and I'm excited to see the discussions that are started from these books, especially because I think not only is it a diversity reading goal, but I also think that it's a discussion reading goal, and I'm excited to see what comes out of it. the second to last one is read a hyped book. And I think this one is interesting because BookTube does this all the time, especially to people who have been on BookTube for a long time, or even people who haven't been on BookTube for a really long time. I know that for me, a lot of my book recommendations come from people on BookTube or on other bookish platforms, and so there's definitely that urge whenever you hear people talking about the same book over and over again. You're like, I want to get that book, and then most of the time you get that book, unless it's a book that you're genuinely excited about. You get that book, and then it sits on your shelf, and then it just sits there and you never read it. Or they don't, and they're just overhyped, and you're like, well, I don't want to read an overhyped book, because then my expectations are here, and, like, I want to make my own thoughts on whatever the book is, and give it a fair shot. Then this challenge is for those books. And then the last challenge is to read 7 books. And this is the one that I've never completed. Ariel's never completed it. I know people who have completed it. Those people who are on Goodreads, who set their goal to, like, 200 books in a year. Like, I don't know who you are. Well, I do know who you are because I know, I have friends with some of them on Goodreads. But just, like, those people blow my mind. Or, like, 150. Like, mine is 30. And that is stretching it for somebody who's in college and working and stuff like that. But that blows my mind. But for some, like, reading 7 books in a week is almost impossible for me, so I don't expect to do that, but I built my TBR around that. So let's go into the books that I chose for each challenge. So one of the other things that you can do to make it easier on yourself, if you either don't expect to reach the reading 7 books in 7 days challenge, or if you just want to, like, cram books together, or you don't have a lot of time during the BookTubeAthon, you can kind of, like, build your own BookTubeAthon in a way by combining challenges, and that's totally okay. And I did that a lot with this. So, to cover the finish a book in a day, reading a book outside, and a book with a person on the cover, I'm reading Lumberjanes Volume 2 and 3, Friendship to the Max, and A Terrible Plan. I just got the first Lumberjanes out from the library and absolutely loved it. I read Nimona by Noelle Stevenson not that long ago, and I'm doing I have a couple of graphic novel arcs that are coming sooner. They're coming out at the end of July, and a lot of them are restricted. Their reviews are restricted until their publication date, so I can't talk about them right now, unfortunately, but I do plan on doing a big graphic novel review video once I can talk about those, because they're really exciting. But Nimona is going into that video, but spoiler alert, I really liked it, and so I'd been hearing a lot of things about Nimona, and I heard a lot of things about Lumberjanes, and so since Noelle Stevenson was one of the people who worked on Lumberjanes, and she was part of Nimona, or she was the one who wrote Nimona, I decided that I'd pick Lumberjanes up, and I sped through it. I think I came back from the library and sat down and read the whole thing in, like, maybe an hour, like 2 hours. It's a super quick read. For those of you who don't know, it's about this group of 5 girls. It's all girl power related, so if you're super into girl power, pick this one up. But it's sort of like a Girl Scouts gone wrong with some magic elements moved in. I super loved it, and so I think I can get through at least the second volume and the 3rd volume. And so I put 2 of those together, and I'll be reading them outside because I have a porch, and these are super quick reads. So, and I live in a place where it is very hot, so I couldn't pick a book to read outside where I was going to be out there forever, or I was going to get heat stroke. I also got an ARC recently in the mail called The Wendy Project by Melissa Jane Osborne, which I'm really excited about. It is it's a graphic novel that has to do with mental health and Peter Pan, and I think that's all I can say about it. I have yet to read it, and I'm really excited about it. So if I get through Lumberjanes Volumes 3 and 4, and I still want to read outside, and I need a graphic novel to mix up more of my thicker novels later on in the BookTubeAthon, then I will probably pick that one up. But that one will also be in my graphic novel wrap-up when I get to it later on in the month of July. So, the next challenge is a book you bought because of the cover. And this one is also sort of under the hyped book category, and it's And I Darken. I'm listening to this one on audiobook because audiobooks are really helpful during readathons, but I actually have the book. I don't think I'll be picking up the hard copy because I do have the audiobook, and I really need an audiobook during a readathon because I like to listen to audiobooks right before I go to bed, and they're also nice, like graphic novels, to mix up your reading pace, just so that, like, when your eyes get tired, or when you're just, like, tired of reading on days like the end of the BookTubeAthon, you have something to go off of. But this cover is gorgeous. It's shiny. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if the light's picking it up, but it, like, is embossed, and it has this really, like, matte finish on the cover, and it's just so pretty. There was, like, a Target sticker on the bottom of it, so it's sort of sticky, which is annoying. But other than that, it's a beautiful cover, and I love it. So I bought it also because of the hype. I'm pretty sure it was a Booksplosion Book of the Month at some point, and so far it's really good. I'm excited about it. I started the audiobook a couple of days ago, and I haven't gotten too far into it, so I'll probably just stop it and start it back over when the readathon starts. So then the next challenge is a book with a character that's very different from you. And this one could also be in the hyped book categories. I have a lot of hyped books that I'm interested in at the moment. I'm realizing as I'm looking down at the books that I chose for my list. And this one, I'm hoping to get a hold of The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. I've heard great things about this one. I hope that it won't slow down my reading because it is a heavier book. It talks about race relations. It's all about this girl who, if you haven't heard about it, it's been all over BookTube. It got blurbed by John Green, and then it just sort of skyrocketed. It was #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list for the longest time. And it's a YA novel about a girl who goes to a party with one of her friends, and they leave early, and they're not doing anything. They just drive down a road, and they get stopped by a cop, and one of her friend that is in the car with her gets killed, even though they're totally complacent the whole time. And the story gets propelled by there. So it's about the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's about race relations and conflict in America and gun violence, and apparently it's a very incredibly moving story, and it's also super fast-paced, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. The book that I actually chose for my hyped book is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I am so excited about this book. It's a graphic novel, and it has to do with mental illness, and it's another graphic novel. I know there's a lot in this. I've been on an audiobook graphic novel kick because I read a lot of regular novels, and I feel like I've been out of the graphic novel and audiobook, like, cycle recently. So now that it's summertime, and I have a lot of time on my hands, I feel like I'm taking advantage of getting into some graphic novels and some audiobooks that I haven't had time to listen to before, even though my commute to school is pretty long, so I could have downloaded a couple of audiobooks. But I'm really excited about this one. I hear it's a slow burn, but it's a good book, so I have high hopes for it, and it has been pretty hyped. It was in a lot of big book boxes that publishers sent out. And so these last couple of books are books that fit with the rest of the challenges that I didn't initially put in there because I'm more interested in the other ones, or I felt like reading the other ones first. But if I don't like those, or if I just am not in the mood for those whenever I get around to reading those challenges, then I have other options if I want to pick these books up. The first one of those books is The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Madsen. Now, this book is huge on BookTube. You've probably seen it everywhere. I have seen this for ages, and I've never gotten around to reading a Morgan Madsen book. I know, shocker, but I've heard good things about this one. It's probably one of her more lighthearted ones. I know that sometimes Morgan Madsen can get pretty dark, but this one is super lighthearted. The only thing that makes me nervous about it is that it is rather long and chunky, but I feel like, from what I've heard on BookTube, Morgan Matson books go by really quickly. And so if I am in the mood for a contemporary book, then I can totally pick up this one, because I'm realizing now that a lot of the books on my TBR are actually more in the sci-fi fantasy realm, because I just got done reading a lot of contemporary. The next one that I could read if I wanted to is Flame in the Mist by Renee Audier. This one will probably be a substitute for my audiobook if I wanted to exchange it out, and then it would just be one of the books that I would exchange out for the book you bought because of the beautiful cover, because it does have a totally beautiful cover, but I would have bought it anyway, even if it didn't have a beautiful cover, because I'm super into Renee Audier. I love her. I read The Rose and the Dagger and The Wrath and the Dawn, and they're sitting on my shelf. That's why I'm pointing to them. And I love them dearly, and so I'm super excited about this novel, but I haven't gotten around to it. But it is gorgeous. It has deckled edges, and the cover is super pretty. This one is coming in on audiobook soon, because I use Overdrive for all of the audiobooks, if you ever want to know why. Like, I have so many of them coming in. I don't use Audible. I just use Overdrive, which is the library app where you can just get ebooks and audiobooks through the library, and it works just like your library system. It's just an app and you can download it, but I use that, and so I'm supposed to be getting this one in audiobook coming in soon, and so if I do, then I'll just start listening to this one instead of listening to Anti-Darken, and then it will just substitute out for the challenge. Plus, this one's shorter than Anti-Darken, so I feel like I can make more progress with this one. And then the last two books that I have that I will probably not get to, but I wanted to include anyway just in case, are Crooked Kingdom and Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I always want to say Crooked Kingdoms. I feel like a lot of people wanted to say that, but it's not. It's Crooked Kingdom. These two books are part of the Grishaverse, and Crooked Kingdom is actually the Booksplosion Book of the Month for July. And I read Six of Crows last year and loved it, and I know that I'm going to have to reread it before I get to Crooked Kingdom, and so maybe it's not going to happen in this BookTubeAthon, but I thought that I would at least put them in there, because I know that I read Six of Crows really quickly, and so if I'm in the mood for it, and I know I'm going to get to Crooked Kingdom later on in the month, even if I don't get to it for the BookTubeAthon, I will want to read it sometime this month anyway, so I should probably get around to it. So I should probably read Six of Crows before the BookTubeAthon so I could read Crooked Kingdom during the BookTubeAthon, but that would require motivation and pre-thinking, and that is something that I do not have a lot of at the moment. Thank you all for joining me for this video. I'm excited to share with you my TBR, and I'm excited to get started with the BookTubeAthon. It's coming up faster than I realized, and so I was like, I have to scramble to get my TBR together, but I'm super excited about it. If you want to learn more about the BookTubeAthon, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you can check out the BookTubeAthon on Twitter, and you can check out Ariel Bissett and the BookTubeAthon on YouTube. All of the information about BookTubeAthon is under her, and she will tell you. She will have everything that you need to know, so don't fret about any of it. If you want to find more links to me, I'm at Official Same Page on Twitter and Instagram, and we're on the same page on Facebook, and you can always go and check out my blog. I highly recommend that at www.we'reonthesamepage.wix.com/justjamie. I know it's really long. But I'm excited that you joined with me. I'm excited to start the BookTubeAthon. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in terms of updates and stuff, but I will definitely let y'all know. And I am glad that we were on the same page today. I'll talk to you all later. Bye!